Hey guys, tonight we travel back over 2,000 years to the dusty plains of ancient India, where a young prince named Ashoka stares across a battlefield, the air thick with smoke, and the cries of the dying echo across the river Daya. Swords clash, elephants collapse, and victory tastes like ashes. You can almost feel the dry wind brushing past your face, carrying with it the weight of history, ambition, and soon regret. You're about to witness the transformation of one of history's most ruthless conquerors into a beacon of non-violence. But fair warning, you probably wouldn't last 5 minutes in Ashoka's early empire. The roads are rough, the punishments are brutal, and trust me, the palace intrigue is not for the faint of heart. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let's ease into tonight's journey together. Born in 304 BCE to the Mauryan royal family, Ashoka was a grandson of Chandragupta Maurya, the man who had established one of the largest empires in Indian history. From a young age, Ashoka was known for his intelligence, fearlessness, and a certain, let's call it, enthusiasm for battlefield efficiency. While not the initial heir, he quickly proved his capability as a military leader and administrator. In his early years, Ashoka was posted as a governor in various provinces, including Ujjain and Taxila. These weren't just promotions, they were tests. Could he rule with order, suppress revolts, collect taxes, and maintain loyalty to the Mauryan center? Spoiler, he could and did, often with a heavy hand. Reports from this period suggest he wasn't exactly beloved by local populations, but he got results. By the time Ashoka ascended the throne around 268 BCE, following a power struggle after his father's death, he had already earned a reputation as both brilliant and brutal. This was an age of empire building, where borders were fluid, loyalty was negotiable, and peace, well, that was just a pause between wars. Ashoka wasted no time in continuing his grandfather's legacy. He expanded the empire rapidly, eventually ruling most of the Indian subcontinent. From present-day Afghanistan in the northwest to Bangladesh in the east and Tamil Nadu in the south, the Mauryan Empire under Ashoka was likely the largest Indian empire in history. But the jewel in this violent crown was yet to come, the conquest of Kalinga. Kalinga, a wealthy and strategically vital kingdom on the eastern coast, had long resisted Mauryan control. In 261 BCE, Ashoka launched a full-scale invasion. According to historical records, including his own inscriptions, over 100,000 people were killed and another 150,000 were deported. The devastation was total. And here comes the twist. Instead of basking in glory, Ashoka was horrified. He walked the blood-soaked fields of Kalinga and saw not victory, but carnage. This wasn't poetic exaggeration. He later carved the confession in stone on his own edicts. This moment wasn't just a footnote in his reign, it was the turning point of his life. Historians still argue whether Ashoka's transformation was spiritual, political, or both. Was it a clever PR move or genuine remorse? Regardless of motive, the emperor who walked off the battlefield was not the same man who had entered it. This moment of reckoning sowed the seeds for what would become one of the most radical shifts in the life of any ruler in recorded history. From bloodshed to compassion, from conquest to introspection, Ashoka's journey was just beginning. By the end of this section, one thing is clear. Ashoka the Conqueror was about to become Ashoka the Seeker. After the conquest of Kalinga and the horrific toll it took on human life, Ashoka began to reassess everything he had believed about power, duty, and success. The once relentless warrior now turned to spiritual exploration, and among the many philosophies present in his vast empire, it was Buddhism that resonated most deeply with his troubled conscience. Buddhism, at the time, was still a relatively young tradition, barely 200 years old. It had been founded by Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, who preached a life of moderation, mindfulness, and liberation from suffering. The Buddha's message rejected the rigid hierarchies of caste and embraced the possibility of inner peace through ethical living and meditation. For Ashoka, this wasn't just a religion. It was an antidote to the suffering he had seen and caused. But Ashoka didn't dive in overnight. His early post-Kalinga years were marked by a period of intense personal reflection. He spent long hours in dialogue with Buddhist monks. One in particular, Upagupta, is frequently mentioned in legend, though historians still argue whether this encounter actually happened. According to some accounts, it was Upagupta who gently but firmly guided Ashoka toward the Buddha's teachings, helping him move from remorse to resolve. Ashoka began to adopt Buddhist principles in his own life. He stopped participating in animal sacrifices, reduced the consumption of meat in royal kitchens, and, this is a wild one, banned the hunting of certain animals on specific days of the week. Yes, even squirrels got a bit more breathing room. This internal change didn't stay private for long. Ashoka soon declared his commitment to Dhamma, a term that, in his context, blended Buddhist ethics with more general moral principles like truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. And then he did something no other king had dared before. He etched these ideals onto stone pillars and rock faces across his empire for everyone, from merchants to goat herders, to read and reflect upon. These edicts, written in the common language of the people, are still found today from Afghanistan to southern India. They are not religious sermons. They're more like ancient public service announcements. Don't kill, don't lie, treat your parents well, and be kind to your servants. If Twitter had existed, Ashoka would have been retweeting the Buddha daily. One famous edict reads, "All men are my children." Another declares that Ashoka now finds more joy in spreading Dhamma than he ever did in conquest. He even apologized openly and repeatedly for the suffering caused during the Kalinga War. Find another emperor who did that. Go ahead. We'll wait. Of course, not everyone was thrilled. Some Brahmin elites were skeptical, if not downright hostile. The sudden rise of Buddhist influence at court created tension, especially since the emperor's new favorite philosophy rejected the authority of the Vedas. But Ashoka didn't suppress Hinduism or Jainism. On the contrary, he promoted religious tolerance, a concept that was centuries ahead of its time. Interestingly, Ashoka's embrace of Buddhism wasn't just spiritual, it became deeply political. Promoting Dhamma helped unite a massive, diverse empire that included Greeks, Dravidians, Scythians, and dozens of other cultures. The edicts reminded everyone of a shared moral code, one that transcended language, religion, and geography. In the capital city of Pataliputra, Ashoka built monumental stupas and sponsored the construction of monasteries and educational institutions. He even convened the Third Buddhist Council around 250 BCE to resolve doctrinal disputes and purify the Sangha. the community of monks, which had apparently gotten a bit rowdy. Think of it as a spiritual audit, complete with ancient HR policies. The Ashokan brand of Buddhism was not passive. It was active, organized, and wildly ambitious. He sent missionary delegations to Syria, Egypt, Sri Lanka, and Central Asia. His son, Mahinda, and daughter, Sanghamitta, played crucial roles, especially in spreading Buddhism to Sri Lanka, where it took firm root. It's worth pausing here to realize the scale of this transformation. Ashoka didn't just add Buddhism to his resume, he rewrote the job description of a king. He redefined strength as restraint, victory as empathy, and governance as service. But historians still debate how deeply these changes penetrated rural life. Did your average farmer in Bengal really adopt Buddhist practices? Probably not. But the moral tone of governance shifted, and that ripple effect, echoing through art, law, and education, lasted far beyond Ashoka's reign. There's also a fascinating fringe theory. Some scholars suggest that Ashoka may have experimented with meditation techniques himself, possibly even achieving states of deep concentration or jhana. While we can't confirm that, it certainly adds an intriguing layer to the emperor's story.